welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Cassie, also known as KnittaCass. This is a channel where I like to talk about the knitting projects that I finished, randomly a crochet project. I'm still a new crocheter, so there's not much of that typically. So the projects that I have finished, the projects that I am working on, patterns I'm drooling over, a little bit of my farm life in Vermont, and a spice of mental health. And of course, Calli, who doesn't typically want my attention, wants to be part of this podcast today, which is kind of funny. So I first want to preface this with I do not have a working ring light and my setup is a little messy in the background, but I didn't want to delay podcasting anymore. It's been quite a while and I just want to try to get back into the routine of doing it regularly and giving you content to enjoy and interacting with you. Calli, want to say hi? This is Calli. Can you say hi, Calli? She doesn't usually let me hold her either, so this is weird. I think she did it once in another podcast. Oh, man, beautiful. So first, I'd like to start with some finished objects. Of course, because it's been a while, I have some of those, though not as much as I would like. So the most exciting finished object is my knit pattern. It is called Resalier. It is based on the Water Dragon or Sea Serpent, second book of the Shadow and Bone series by Leigh Bardugo. And it plays quite a big role in the storyline. So I had them on sock blockers and it kind of really stretched them out. So I will show it this way. So, of course I'm crooked. This is my sock pattern. This is supposed to be the dragon scales. This is the dragon eyes and the dragon scales down the front. I have a short pattern and a long pattern. This one is the long pattern. And this one is the short pattern. And basically the difference in the patterns is how long the top of the sock is. And it also changes a little bit about how the bottom of the sock is made. I did this in a collaboration with Erica of the Lopsided Crafter. I'll put her information down below. Highly recommend following her. She is an indie yarn dyer in South Carolina. I think it's South Carolina. And her yarn is beautiful. It's like butter to knit with, and I just love her dyeing style. So this is called Lemon Meringue. It is a nice golden yellow with some speckles. The dragon, Rusalye, is described by fan art as iridescent, which it was in the book described as iridescent, and kind of goldish, shiny. There's some hints of blue that are kind of suggested, but not exactly clear. So I wanted to go with a golden color, and Erica did not disappoint. The yarn colorway, if I haven't said it already, is called Lemon Meringue. Let's see if I can get a true to color. That's true to color except for the fact that I am in the dark. So I'm hoping when I color correct that it will come out better. It's a lot brighter than this. So I will link all the pattern details below. I'm also going to be having a make along, and it's going to be from September 1st to September 30th. There will be some chatter on my Ravelry groups page, which I will also link that information below. I'm giving some time for people to get prepared. They can order the yarn and get the yarn. So as it is a collaboration with Erica of the Lopsided Crafter, and the yarn was dyed in honor of the colorways that are suggested in the book for Rusalye, the Sea Serpent or Sea Dragon. I will be offering an extra entry for those of you who also use Erica's yarn. Again, I'll have that information linked below, and I will also remind you in my podcast and on Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram as KnittaCass16. I'm on Ravelry as KnittaCass, and on YouTube I am KnittaCass Creates. The next finished object is it's got dog hair on it and cat hair because my son has already worn it. So this is a colorway by the Happy Little Mermaid Co. It is a summer sock camp exclusive, and it is called Gone Camping. It did come with a little mini, but my son really wanted camo socks, and so I didn't put any contrasting parts of the sock. So this is a vanilla sock. I have been doing previously 58 stitches for him. His feet are growing astronomically, so I have 60 stitches on here, and I have a little sock pattern recipe that I have now made. I have measured from the cuff to where I start the heel, and then I've measured from the back of the heel to where I'm going to do the toe. Yeah, the back of the heel to the front of the heel. I also have a measurement from the back of the heel to where I'm going to start the toe. I have it written down in my knitting product journal so that hopefully I will remember. I typically start making him socks and have him try them on 100 times, and I realized that not only was it a little bit needy and annoying, but also I would like to be able to knit socks when he's not around. It has held up my projects quite a few times waiting for him to try them on. So these are the vanilla socks in kind of what my son describes as camo colorways. Once again, be mindful that I am in a dark place, so I'm hoping that the color correction will correct it. It's called Gone Camping by the Little Mermaid Co. No, Happy Little Mermaid. Happy Mermaid Co. I'll put it down below. It's my first time using her yarn, and I'm quite impressed. I like the way it knit up. I love the way that she saturated all the colors in here. It's quite a bit of colors to put in there, and they just look seamless. It doesn't look like she randomly put colors in there. And what I know from talking to yarn dyers is that when you're using a lot of colors, especially kind of darker browns and greens, it's really hard. It's really easy to make like a mud or like really dark mixed color. And somehow she has miraculously used all those colors and in a nice kind of neat way, and it's just gorgeous. I also have another pair of finished objects for my son Weston. He is 8 and he absolutely loves being my knitting guinea pig and loves my knitting socks more than the store-bought socks. This is called Gentle Drizzle. It is a pattern by, put it down below, from the Operation Sock Drawer book. And it's got these nice little, I don't know what you call them, strips that then do this little lacy cross pattern. And it's kind of alternating. So like this one will go so many patterns and then do a little cross, and this one's on a different row count, so we'll do a little cross in a different way. I did mess up in quite a few places. Like this one, this little cross thing, and it goes like all of a sudden it doesn't have its own buddy. I don't know what I did, but I knew he wouldn't care, and I'm also like a wicked lazy knitter. And I could have ripped back, but if he doesn't care, then I don't care. They need to be blocked, which is why they look kind of short. I made these, I think, I don't know if I did 58 or 60, but they fit him quite well. I think part of the reason that they fit him, despite it being a lower stitch count, is that it has a lot of purl bumps that can stretch. This is also made in a colorway by Erica that I got from my Lazy Days of Summer Advent, and I will have to put the colorway below. I am terrible about knowing colorways, and I would rather podcast now and then put the information on the bottom rather than wait to get the information and that like rather than get the information to write it down to do a podcast. I feel like every little step that needs to be done before podcasting gives me another opportunity to lose my mojo or get distracted by life and not get back to actually filming a podcast. So this uses a partridge heel, which is pretty neat. It's alternating, so it'll start with like slip, knit, and then the next row will be knit, slip, and it just makes this cute little pattern right here. I just love it. So cute. Otherwise, it's the same as a heel flap and gusset. So there's that finished object. I did finish a crochet washcloth, but I gifted it, so it's not here. So this one is a hoe. This is a vanilla sock pattern that I am knitting up for me. This is some leftover yarn. I don't know the colorway. For heels and toes, or excuse me, for heels and cuff. And then the self-striping yarn is Desert Vista Dyeworks in the Labrynth colorway. Sorry, I've got strings everywhere. For some reason, I hate weaving in ends so much that I wait until the second sock is done and then weave in both ends. I have like one of those delicate washing bags that has like the different pockets and you zip it up. And I put my hand knit socks in there so they don't get lost and I can make sure that they are together with their set. So typically what I do is instead of weaving the ends, I'll finish this sock, which I did, not weaving the ends. Then I'll finish the second sock, not weave any ends, and just throw it on there. I didn't mean to actually throw it. Throw it on there and it kind of sits until I get sick of seeing it. Hopefully I will be better about that. I did on this sock, the gentle drizzle, and the camo sock, I did actually weave in the ends sock by sock. So like I did one sock, weaved in the ends, then did the other one because my son was chomping at the bit to wear them. I, for some reason, could care less that I am getting ready to wear them. I'm not in a hurry, but he is. So I have the second vanilla sock using that leftover yellow and the self-striping yarn called the Labrynth by Desert Vista Dyeworks. I love the way it knits up. It's so cute. Another hoe that I have is the ice cream socks, and this is supposed to look like vanilla ice cream with some sprinkles, strawberry ice cream and chocolate ice cream, and a waffle cone foot, which definitely, there we go, definitely looks like a waffle cone. My son is picking on me a little bit because this color would typically be the chocolate color and this would typically be the waffle cone. However, the yarn that I used here is like a thick sport weight and it just wouldn't be comfortable or follow gauge enough with the twists. So I decided this was okay. I have seen dark waffle cones before. And so he said, maybe this was salted caramel ice cream. And I thought, yeah, it doesn't quite fit the intention, but it certainly could be. So this is my hoe. I do have the second one started. I was knitting them 2 at a time, and I think I started them before I went on vacation, and I thought I was going to finish them on vacation, but I was more interested in doing other projects. So this is got the vanilla ice cream with the sprinkles, the strawberry ice cream, and the chocolate or salted caramel. This kind of shows you how thick this yarn is. So I'll hold it next to the fingering. Maybe that doesn't show very well, but it is quite a bit bigger. Yeah, that definitely doesn't show well. Yeah, it's quite a bit bigger. So I am ready to add the brown from Knit Picks. This colorway is called Cabin. So I am ready to do the waffle cone part of this sock. I'm hoping to have it done by the end of the week. It is Tuesday, July 19th. So realistically, that's probably not real, but I do have all of today off and all of tomorrow off. I typically work on Wednesdays. And so I'm super excited that I have one extra day to do things. Whether or not I actually do, we'll see. I also have the Monte Rio sweater. I started it again on vacation. I don't know what it is about that pattern, but I'm afraid to knit it while watching TV. And I haven't really figured out a good time to knit it, so it just keeps getting put aside. I do have an audiobook I'm listening to. It is called, oh, excuse me. It is called Beach Read. I'll talk more about that in the book section. So now that I'm thinking about it, if I, the beach read is for a book club discussion, and it needs to be done by the end of this month. So realistically, or planning wise, I should knit the sweater while listening to the book, and then maybe that'll get my mojo going. So fingers crossed, we shall see. I'm also still working on this languishing whip. It is the it's Jack Sparrow of a doll form, but because of copyright in the book, because it's a copyrighted character, I think the book calls it Samuel Crow, but it's Jack Sparrow. Like, it has the dreadlocks and the beads. It's Jack Sparrow. So I am currently making his little jacket thing. It's got the V in the back, and I'm working on the sleeves. It's got this cute little like pocket here. Like, look at that. Little ruffles. This part was so fun to make. I could probably make these all day long. And the other one's on this side. And so the idea is for it to kind of open loosely. And I really should finish the sleeves, because then all I have, it's a lot of little pieces, but the little pieces should fly. So if I finish the sleeve, this jacket's done, then I have a white t-shirt to do. 90% of the pieces in this pattern are knit flat and then knit in the round, which drives me insane. So I think what I'm going to do with the t-shirt or long sleeve shirt under it is just knit it in the round, despite how it's written. And then it has like a little collar on it, which I could probably like pick it up and do some short rows. And then I have like his belt and some rings, maybe a sword. I don't know. Like, I started with the big projects and I'm going down to the smaller projects, so hopefully I can just kind of speed through it. But for some reason, he just keeps getting put aside. And every now and again, my son will ask for it. And I'm pretty sure that I started this either last summer or last, like, March-ish. So very languishing whip. But I will love the way that I would love it if it's finished. This is his body. Yes, it looks quite ugly. I posted on Facebook a while ago when I made the first body. I asked people what they thought it was, and one person said Jack Sparrow, and the rest of them said Lumiere, the candlestick in Beauty and the Beast, which I can see. So here he is. I need to attach his hands, and the feet were so cool. All these strings. So they actually are anatomical feet, and it has this little outline that you would trace onto cardstock, and you actually put it in the bottom here so that it keeps that kind of shape, and then you kind of seam a little bit, lightly stuff it, and then close it. And I like that. I think the feet and the little pocket flaps have been my favorite. I'm excited to make his hair with the like little beads. Historically, I've not been good about making hair for dolls, but usually they don't give me step-by-step instructions. They're like, just add hair. This one gives step-by-step instructions for each character in the book. For example, there's a witch and there's a fairy, and they all have different hair styles and makeup, like processes. So hoping that this goes smoothly and hoping I can give it to my son very soon. But I know as I say that out loud that he's not going to be my first priority for whips. Do I have any other whips? I don't think so. Acquisitions, I have a whole bunch of new yarn that I got from Erica of the Lopsided Crafter. I got her Lazy Days of Summer Advent, where you get a main skein and a mini skein. There is 4 total, I think. And it also came with some really cute project bags, the big ones like the totes, and some stitch markers and just some cute little extras. I will put a link up here for lack of time and to make this video not drag on. I highly suggest checking that out and seeing the different yarns that she provided and their colorways in my preparation for summer sock camp video. I will put like a little bar here that says the colorways. If you want to see how wonderful they look and how awesome the package was put together, highly recommend watching that video. I got this bag from a swap partner. It's got this really cute embroidery. It is a cinch top bag, and it is made by So Crazy Crafter. I guess there's not a good way for you to see it, but super cute, super fun. It's like made out of canvas, so it's very sturdy. And then the yarn Advent from Erica of the Lopsided Crafter. I believe that's it for acquisitions. So, as you know, if you've been following along, and if you have not been following along, I am an avid reader. I sometimes have difficulty kind of balancing the books that I want to read and the projects that I want to knit. I have primarily been reading at night, which sometimes is good if I go to bed at a decent time so that I have time to read, that's good. But if I go to bed at like when my body is ready to sleep, I do not get much done. But this warmer weather has me reading in the sunshine by the pool, and I absolutely love it. So I have finished since my last podcast, and if I duplicate some of them, I apologize. This is called The Children on the Hill. This is by Jennifer McMahon. She is an author who's local to me. She lives a couple towns over, which is pretty exciting. I fell in love with her books before I knew that. She does suspense books that sometimes have elements that don't seem like they should be possible in real life, like so like in one of the books there was like some weird kind of folklore thing that ended up being true even though it didn't quite seem possible. She wrote it in a way that seemed completely plausible for it to happen in real life. This book I'm still thinking about. It is about some young children who are raised by their grandmother. Their grandmother works at the psych hospital up at the top of the hill, and they actually live up there next to the psych hospital. And there's all this suspense going on, and you're trying to figure out I'm trying to figure out how to explain it without explaining it. Basically, there's a lot of mystery about what actually happens in the hospital at the top of the hill, and the children get really curious and discover some things that have changed their world completely. I think that's the best way to explain it. That might seem like I gave it away, but trust me, with this author, I didn't give it away at all, and there's a wicked twist ending. Highly recommend The Children on the Hill by Jennifer McMahon. I have also started the Shatter Me series. I have seen these on the shelves forever and ever at the libraries and bookstores, and I usually just disregard them. I watched a TikTok video that basically the way they talked about it made it really interesting to me. So the first one is Shatter Me, the second one is Unravel Me, and I have the rest of the series in my Amazon cart because most of the libraries locally do not have them, which is kind of weird. And I don't know if it's because I'm like late to the game and they maybe weren't like borrowed enough for them to keep them. I'm not sure. But I really liked it. It's definitely a young adult novel. It's definitely geared for that young adult reader, which I don't mind, and it's got some science fiction, but not like in a nerdy way. So I do recommend if you like young adult fiction. If you don't like young adult fiction, you won't like these books at all. I am currently reading Defy the Night by Bridget Kemmerer. You have seen this several times. It is pretty good. It's about these vigilantes, not the right word, kind of secret Good Samaritans who are helping the residents illegally so that they're not ill. There's like this magic, let's see if it says it. I don't want to ruin it. Oh yeah, so it's on the book jacket. So there is moonflower petals that help with this like plague slash fever that is infecting most of the townsfolk. And so these two main characters are stealing the flowers, delivering them in night to those who need them. And it's just basically following their journey. There's a little bit of some side chapters and side characters that I think will become quite important, and they have to do with the royal family. This book has been put aside many times to read books that I've borrowed from the library or books that needed to be read in a timely fashion. Hoping to finish that soon. This book, you guys. Oh my God. This book. Verity by Colleen Hoover. So, first of all, this book looks kind of funky. Well, it doesn't look too bad on here, but I like to read in the water on a floaty, as long as it's like in a pool and I'm not going to float away. So typically I'll get in the floaty and ask my husband or my kids to read me the book. Neither of them were available. So I put the book on the new ladder to my in-laws' pool, not knowing that it wasn't anchored. So as I got into the other ladder, I bumped the other ladder, just enough that the book went right into the water. So I threw it out, got out of the water, put paper towels and regular towel between the pages to try to soak it up. And I was so desperate to read the book that while it had the paper towels and towel, I was still kind of reading. I finished the book that night, so it took me 3 days to read this book, which is saying something for me. I used to be able to read books really fast before I started knitting, but now it's like read or knit. So this is about a writer and a struggling writer who is given the opportunity to kind of be a ghostwriter for a very popular author who has an accident where she can't write anymore. However, this book is not about that at all. Like that's just kind of the like very base, not even strong enough to be concrete level of the book. Like this book has so much more to it. Not really sure how to explain it without going into detail, but it has you questioning a lot of things. She's trying to find the notes so she can get into the characters and the plot line from the author's office, and there's all these things that show up that are crazy, don't make any sense, and excuse my language, fucked up. Like fucked up. This book might be a little difficult for some people to read. There are some things that happen that can be disturbing. I don't want to go into details, but read with caution if you're a reader who sometimes gets turned off by, what would the word be? I guess what I want to say is in the book, when it starts to get a little twisted and some things are discussed that are very disturbing, I suggest that if it bothers you, to stop reading the book. Regardless of how good this book is, that theme continues for a good chunk of the book. if you think you are okay with continuing to read that, entirely worth the kind of emotional struggle. Highly recommend, but disclaimer that there are some disturbing things in the book that might be hard to stomach. I believe that's it for books. My to be read pile is getting larger and larger. And my sister-in-law, one of them doesn't like to read at all. And we were talking about reading books at the pool the other day, and she told me about a series that is very similar to 50 Shades of Grey, came out before 50 Shades of Grey, and the name Steal is in both books. So there's some question whether parts of the book were borrowed or not stolen, creatively reused, maybe not in the right way. So she actually gave me a book of them, or a bag of them. Excuse the crinkle. Whoops. So these books are by Helen Hart. They are the Steele Brothers series. And the main male character is Talon Steele. And there is probably 20 of these. My sister-in-law was like, oh, you know, I've got like 6 of the books that go in a row, and I'm missing book 1. And then book 8 came out, then she was telling me that book 8 came out, but she hadn't gotten it yet and would like to read it. So of course I did some research to see if like it was something that I could hook her up with. And there is like 20 books of the series. So I sent her a little snapshot of all the titles and she's blown away. So I think this book is good enough that my sister-in-law, who doesn't like to read, is enjoying it, so I must read it. So she gave me 6 of them. She doesn't have the first one. This is Obsession. This is in no particular order. Surrender. Burn. I like the colors too, they're cute. Melt. Possession. And the one that I dropped. Oh my gosh, I have the dropsies today. And Shattered. The first book's not in here, so I looked on Amazon for the first book, and I actually was able to get it on Kindle for free. So I'm hoping to start that sometime this week. Maybe I'll start it tonight, because if it's really good, I could do some reading tomorrow. Not sure, but I'll let you know next time I podcast how good these books are. They are the Steele Brothers series by Helen Hart. In terms of patterns that I'm drooling over, I really haven't had time to look and really haven't looked. So that part of this podcast is empty. So that brings me to my farm life. I purchased 2 more sheets since the last time I podcast, maybe 3, but I think I shared that gentleman. So the first one I got, his name is Bab, and he is a Jacob sheep with 2 horns. My husband was hoping for more horns. Jacob sheep can have anywhere from 2 to 6 horns, and their horns get like really funky. So we got him as a baby. And then I have 2 adult females from a different farm, and they are registered Finn sheep. One is named Brown Sugar. She's got some weird scruff matted fur in the front that I don't know why they weren't finished cutting them off, but the picture is going to make her look funky because of it. And I am cutting them off. Otherwise, she's great. She is this brown color, but like kind of a light brown color, and has some evidence of piebald, like her udder has some spots and parts of her nose have some spots. Her name is Brown Sugar, and for some reason, I think it was my mother-in-law, accidentally called her Cinnamon, and her colorway kind of fits cinnamon just as much as Brown Sugar. So 90% of the time we call her Cinnamon, so that's apparently her adopted name. And then I got a white registered Finn sheep, and her name is Snow White. very excited to see how their lambs coloration work with my badger gentleman named Goliath. Then we have another Jacob sheep coming to us. We are waiting for him to be finished weaning, and he has 4 horns, and my husband is so excited. I still have, so we're keeping a weathered sheep. His name is Norman. He was the runt of the triplets that were born from my sickly sheep named Alice. And then we have Bab, who is weathered. But I do have an intact ram that I was going to sell, and I feel like my timing is off because not a lot of people are interested despite his good genes and long lineage of great genes. Because most farmers, so like if you're in the sheep farming business, you make your money off of the wool, the meat, and the babies. And so you want more females than males because you can take one male and basically breed your entire flock. So males are not as sought out. So I'm trying to decide if I think it's a little too late. I could weather him, but I think it's too late. Like his scrotum, not to be frank, is quite large. So the banding would not fit over it. And I don't feel like doing a surgical operation. So I'm thinking I'll probably, for lack of a better word to say it, pimp him out during breeding season to another farmer and use his wool in the meantime. Yes. And then the 2 ewes were sent to or purchased by this really nice small farmer in, where the heck does she live? South Royalton-ish area in Vermont. And she is a startup farm with cows. She was raised around cows, and her job is working on a farm with multiple cows. So she has a couple cows of her own, and she wanted a sheep for her little girl. She took the first sheep, they named her Minnie, and they just love having her around that they asked if they could also have her sister, who they then named Millie. These 2 girls are going to be so spoiled. They are going to be sheep. They are going to be show sheep. So they are going to be living the model life, which makes me very happy. Oh, I also learned how to trim hooves. If you're a farmer and you think that's like, you got that and like it doesn't seem important, I am a brand new farmer and it was a huge stepping stone for me. I was really nervous and it's not bad at all. And I was so excited that I was able to kind of maneuver the sheep. So I'm getting used to also handling my sheep in an appropriate way. I had a really hard time kind of getting them where I wanted them to go. So I've got that part mastered. I was able to get them in position and trim their hooves. My son took a couple pictures. They're not exactly flattering of me, but I want to put them on here because I'm so proud that I learned how to trim their hooves. Every time I learn a new part of farming, I get really excited. I was not raised on a farm, and so all of this information is new. And to kind of tell you, kind of lay the framework of how extremely new this is, let me tell you a story. My husband and I have been together 16 years. I think it's 16 years. Yes. And he was living with his parents when we first started dating, and I came to his parents' house for a sleepover, and I pulled in the driveway. It's the first time I had been there, and all I could smell was cow poop. And I was like, oh my God, how do people do this? It's gross. And then I couldn't sleep all night because the cows were talking, like all night long. So as time has gone by, they do call me a city slicker, despite the fact that the town I grew up in is super tiny. And I'm learning things. And now that I am farming the sheep, I'm learning things faster and getting more curious about things and getting really excited. And my father-in-law, who was born and raised a farmer, is so proud of me, and that makes me feel even better about it. So my last part is that I like to throw in a spice of mental health. If you're new here, I have bipolar, and it took me a while to get the real diagnosis, and now that I have the real diagnosis, it has made my therapy more effective and my medication regimen making my life so much better. And there's a lot of stigma in the world about talking about mental health and kind of judging people who have those illnesses. They focus more on the stereotypes of the mental disorder rather than looking at the person as an individual. So this one's a little bit different than the mental health tips that I usually give you. And when I came across this, I thought it was fabulous. So this mental health tip is to learn something new, which is kind of funny, kind of ties in with my farming. So, learning something new makes you feel accomplished and gives you more confidence. And when you feel good about yourself and feel like you are successful and doing, mastering things that seem difficult at first, it really creates that positive loop that you are capable of doing these things and facing these obstacles. And it gives you that little boost, gives you more resilience and distress tolerance in those moments where you feel like things just can't possibly get better or you can't possibly overcome this obstacle. So I encourage you all to learn something new and be okay with making mistakes because that is the only way that we will learn. Until next time, I hope you have happy knitting, happy crafting, and I will see you hopefully soon.